Our brains and bodies are really an amazing thing. And as kids, it's even more so because they're in this malleable area where the brain is shifting and developing and changing and growing. And there's so much that we can do to support and help their brain development and their ability to navigate experiences for life versus hinder them. First, how does anxiety show up with kids? As an occupational therapist, I'm really looking at daily occupation. So things like play, sleep, eating, going to the bathroom, getting dressed. Anxiety can really show up as issues in any of these things. So they're having trouble moving through daily life in a way that feels comfortable, safe, secure to them. Maybe they have sleeping issues, or they're worried about going to sleep chronically, constantly, consistently. So not just a typical kid that doesn't want to go to sleep and they'd rather stay up and play, or they're feeling fearful about being alone, but actually having trouble sleeping again and again, and you're starting to notice that no matter what you've done, no matter what you've tried, they're still having issues. So there's something that keeps them from going to bed at night, or staying asleep at night, or really getting to that restful state. Another way anxiety shows up is through feeding issues or eating. So food, control with food, either eating too much or not enough, or always being worried about food, thinking about it, or having digestive issues and going to the bathroom. So doing these things that could be really considered typical everyday functions. And again, not just the typical everyday kids having trouble or having accidents and trying to figure out all their sensory systems and how they're going to the bathroom. Instead, this is a more chronic, challenging thing that's showing up and really impacting daily life. Other ways this can show up is in relationships. Maybe they don't want to play with peers. They don't want to play with anybody in their family. They're isolating, or they're clinging, the opposite of that. So they need to always be with somebody constantly, more so than just, again, typical kids are wired to connect. So we don't want to pathologize typical kid behavior. This video and information is really about how do we notice the vulnerabilities and support and help versus hinder and make things harder, or miss something that may be problematic down the road, more so than it is even now. Now, what is anxiety? So anxiety is actually 80% of information that is coming from the body is telling the mind what to do. So we often think about anxiety as a brain and thoughts issue, and it becomes that. But really where it starts is in our body. I start to notice that there is something going on in my body. So maybe that is chest tension, throat constriction, feeling short of breath, having trouble taking a big breath or breathing in, kind of being big, living fully. There starts to become maybe a racing heart rate, or we notice we're not really breathing at all, or we're breathing really quickly. There's some type of sensation within us that's telling the brain there is something wrong here, there's something going on. So when we think about supporting anxiety, we could start with thoughts and play around with our thoughts, try to shift our thoughts, and that's something that happens again and again. But especially in these early years, we're wanting to get to the root of anxiety and start with those body sensations. When we have body sensations inside, or we're noticing things on the outside, our bodies can either feel safe or threatening. So when our bodies feel safe and the situation is safe, that's a match. That makes sense. We can be regulated. So regulated means that we are aware, we are in the room, we're taking up the information around us, and we're able to show up the way that this is feeling some anxiety here. So when we are in a situation where we are regulated, we are safe, we are available, we can take up space, we can be in the world in a way that feels good. We're regulated. When anxiety shows up in a safe situation, so an everyday situation, but we feel there is a threat from a brain-body level, this is where it's a disorganized response. So even though we're in a secure situation, yet our brains and bodies are feeling, oh my goodness, survive, we need to go into fight flight mode, this is a problem, that's when it becomes dysregulation. Dysregulation is, again, some type of disorganized response. So our nervous system is saying, hey, there's something wrong here, there's something going on, and we cannot organize a behavior that is helpful for us. It comes out as behavior like anxiety, which is that overthinking or control, or maybe they're suddenly blaming siblings for everything that is going wrong or everything that they seem to be feeling inside. Or there is something that is on edge constantly, or they're kind of perpetuating an idea or something that is going wrong. Again, bathroom issues, sleep issues, feeding issues. There's something that feels safe from the core. So they're having an issue feeling secure, even though they may be in an overall secure situation. So then, anxiety comes from being in this survival or emotional brain space of fight, flight, freeze, shut down. And often anxiety is that fight, flight energy. So we have this kind of sympathetic energy that's pumping through us, and there isn't this outlet for it. We don't know what to do with it, or there isn't this security around it. So how do we build the security in kids and support them to not feel anxious for the long haul? Because there is so much we can do, and this is a perfect time. So if you're watching this and you have young kids, or you're just watching this to support yourself, I'm celebrating you for being here, because there is so much that we can do to shift when awareness is there. We're coming from this old view of, if kids are feeling anxious about it, just kind of push them on through. So that would be more that power control lens of, well, there's no space for emotion here. You need to do this. You need to do what you do. We need to get through the day. So you need to just put on your shoes and go to school. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You go to school every day. So we have this approach that comes off as confusing to kids, because if their bodies are saying, oh my goodness, this is a threat, I am feeling tension, and we're saying, oh, not a big deal, no big deal, just run along and go out to school. Or even worse, maybe we're threatening because we as adults are in that fight flight energy, and threatening feels like an approach that is helpful at the time. Or we can come off as invalidating to kids, and it creates this mismatch and this discord, because their system's saying freak out, there's a threat, and we're saying no threat, nothing to worry about. So while that may be true, and while we're well intended and think that's helpful, it creates nervous system stress, and they get stuck in this stress cycle. They get stuck in that emotional stress cycle, and that anxiety continues to come up, because if they have fear or dysregulation in some way, they need connection through it. So the most powerful way that we can support anxiety is through connection. And I'm going to break down some really practical ways to do that. One is through emotional co-regulation. So when we're coming from that dysregulated state, as humans, we're wired to move through experiences alongside a trusted adult that is secure enough in feeling that emotion or that tough sensation, and can move through it with us, so that our brains and bodies feel that, okay, I got this, I know what to do. So really, what we want to think about is how, when we are able to move into this alongside an adult that can embody from the inside out that this is secure. So an example of what this might sound like is, oh, this is feeling big today. Going to school feels big. We started a new classroom. We have a new teacher. You have new kids. I wonder what's feeling different to you. So maybe they're in a brain space where they're not able to articulate, and we'll talk about that. First is slowing the moment enough to get curious about what is happening, get curious about what their experience is. And this is easier said than done when everybody can be running out of the house and mornings are a whirlwind, and there's a lot of urgency and stress in our society in general. So this takes practice and can even impact our own nervous system alongside them. Slowing the moment is when we step outside of that fight flight energy and we say, hey, this is important. There's time for you. I can attune and notice that there's something going on in your system, in your body. And just by doing that, you are connecting with the brain and the body. So as we are social organs, this can be one of the most soothing, regulating things to the brain, is feeling that we're not alone in it. Alice Miller has a quote all about how it's really not as much about what happens to us, but not having this empathetic witness to go through and to be in it with us and to experience that alongside us. And that's what creates that panic or that desperation, is feeling like nobody else feels this, nobody else understands me, I'm in it alone and I don't know what's going on. So one is slow the moment. Two is this emotional co-regulation. So you're already co-regulating when you're slowing the moment. That's a huge part of the process. Next is maybe we get curious. whoa, something's happening. Something's going on. This feels off. So when you're getting curious, you're stopping, you're noticing, you're figuring out something is going on for them. Next, you might acknowledge or validate why this might be a big deal. So again, going back to, we just started this new school. We are in a new classroom, we have new teachers, you have new kids. This feels big. Next, maybe we could validate that staying home might feel like their comfortable, safe space at that time. So, it would be so nice if we could stay home. I love to be with you. We could stay home and do something fun together. That would be so awesome. And next is affirming that there is an expectation that we need to move through, or there is something that we need to do. As you start to notice their system get ready for this, then you can reaffirm what's happening. And we do need to go to school today. We do need to go. And then maybe we wonder, so I wonder what would help. I wonder if you want to hold my hand on the way there. I wonder if there's a special object that you could take with you to remember, or a picture, or I know there's something that we could do to support you through today. So you're making emotion part of the story, not the whole story, but most importantly, you're allowing space for them to move through and feel, heal, release that sensation within. So instead of getting stuck in that stress cycle where they feel like they're alone in it, they're the only ones, they feel like, you got me. I am held in this, and that connection is really what allows their animal body that might be freaking out on the inside to come out and say, oh, okay, I'm here, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm connected. I would love to hear where you are with this. Comment with any questions and I'll do my best to get to them as we are getting this YouTube channel up and rolling. Like, subscribe, I so appreciate the support, and you'll want to stay around if you are interested in this topic and many more. So comment with questions, ideas, topics that you want to hear about, and I will see you next time.